Welcome to the V. Lenore Show. Here, we will discuss lifestyle, beauty, celebrity gossip, and current events in our own way, my way, V style. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the V. Lenore Show. And I'm your host, V. Lenore. How are you guys today, this Saturday, July 9th? Hope you're doing well. It's been a busy day for me already. And I think we're just getting started, okay? We're just getting started with the day, with this interview. So much more is to come, even after this interview. And we'll talk about that later in the show as well, okay? But today, I want to specifically say that today we're going to talk about mental health awareness, how it impacts family, how it can impact us as a community. And we're going to talk to someone who specifically this is not foreign to them at all. This work that she's done, that she's been doing in the most recent years, is work that she's been doing all along and probably just didn't even realize it. So we're going to talk about what mental health advocacy looks like, or activism even. And you probably have even seen our guests in other places. And we'll talk about that too in just a second. But before we get started, let me say hi to everybody in the chat. Hi, everybody. So let's see, who's all here? The gang is all here. Hey, Know Your Own Worth, my beautiful moderator, and my other beautiful moderator, Fedora. Both are in the house today. Hi, Shell Loves. Hey, Jill's Comfort Zone. Adore Me is here. Hi, Adore Me. It's All Hot Air is here. Hey, cool gamer. You weren't the first one in here today? What? How about that? Well, I'm glad you're here, period. Hey, CCN TV. How are you, Captivating Christian? I had fun talking to you the other night through the chat. Let's see, who else is here? Hey, The Truth. All right, so we got some other folks, those of you that are in the sky or in the clouds or wherever it is that you're sitting and listening, we welcome you as well. And just know that towards the end of the show, you know, in the past, the last few shows, I've been trying to offer some things specific to the members, a special Q&A I would try to do with our guests. But Marla said today she does not want me to do any exclusive Q&A just for the members, because she wants any and everybody to be able to ask any questions that they may have right now. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So start jotting down your questions right now in case something comes up that we don't really dive into and have the answers you're looking for. You'll be able to ask it later in the show. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then I'll tell you about some other things we've got planned later on this evening, okay? Yeah, so hey, Sharice, welcome. All right, everybody, so let's get started. So my guest today is Miss Marla Thomas. And as I've described her in my announcements that she was coming, we've titled her, or she has titled herself as the mental health activist. Now, she's also a wife. She is also a mother. And a lot of her mental health activism, which I'm sure she'll be able to speak better to this than I can, but has a lot to do with how mental health can impact family. And so she's going to talk about that today. Her husband is Dave Thomas of Take Six. We had another member of Take Six that we interviewed a couple months back, Alvin Chia. And her oldest daughter, she's the mother of three. She has two daughters, one son. And her oldest daughter, you may be familiar with is Moniece Slaughter from Love and Hip Hop Hollywood. So Marla is no stranger to the Hollywood scene, and I think that she's no stranger to this subject that we're going to be talking about today. And we're just happy that she's here to share some insight. So with that said, without further ado, Miss Marla Thomas. Hi, Marla. Uh-oh, you're on mute.
Hold on. Now you can hear me.
I can hear you. How are you?
Fine, how are you? So let me start off by saying as well, thank you, Valerie, for giving my voice an additional platform. And I'm always very transparent. And I have to say that I've known you, your satellite family. So, so she mentioned, my husband singing in Take Six and Alvin. And so I met Valerie years ago because we have family in common.
That's right.
And so through Alvin. And so the bottom line is this. One of the reasons, this is the first exclusive full out interview that I've done. And the reason is because, and someone asked me, people are threatening your life. Why are you doing this? And I said, because I'm never going to stop having a conversation, but my hesitation or my refusal in the past has been that I don't want my voice to be used to drive someone else's agenda. I don't want that. And that's what this medium has, I learned my lesson on season 2 of Love and Hip Hop, because everything I said was so poignant. Not that everybody's going to agree. I'm not here for that. But what I said was so important and so poignant, but the way it was cast or the editing process of that was meant to drive someone else's agenda. So I realize now if I give my image and my voice to a narrative that is not representation, that's not going to represent me or my mission or my purpose, I'm taking a chance. So I will tell you that because we have a long-standing history, I have granted this interview to you.
And I'm so appreciative of it. I'm a new content creator, so it does mean a lot that you would offer this opportunity to me. So I appreciate that. Before we even get into the stuff that happened, even whether it's on Love and Hip Hop or even what's going on now, let's talk a little bit about who Marla is. So Marla, where are you from?
Okay, so let me give you a quick super long rundown on Marla.
Okay.
People say, short, keep the story short. I'm like, long story short. I always say long story short, but really long story long. So the deal is this. I was born in Chicago, Illinois. I don't think I've ever shared this publicly. Anyway, I was born in Chicago, Illinois. My dad, it was a major league ball player, and he was in the major leagues between playing and coaching 42 years. So a lot of people know, some people don't. So when I was in Chicago, I was born when he was with the White Sox in Chicago. Ended up in in LA when they got traded to he got traded to the Angels. I was young. And through family, some stuff that happened externally, my father was like, hey, I want my kids to grow up someplace they can trust people. So he talks to my mom. My mom doesn't really want to move, but says, hey, how about Huntsville, Alabama? So I ended up in Huntsville when I was 6. And that's where I met Dave in second grade.
Okay, well, hold on. So wait a minute. Your father is this major league baseball player, and he says, let's move someplace where we can trust the people.
My kids can learn to trust people, because my brother and I had 2 serious incidents, and one of them was a guy who was, in my opinion, was attempted kidnapping, honestly, when we were living on Cloverdale, and our next door neighbor, Mr. Harvey, was a detective. And my father grew up in Malvern, Arkansas, and thought the country's the answer, and he'll commute to baseball. He's still a player. So my mom was the one, shame on you, Mom, who suggested, she's sitting over there, who suggested that we go to Huntsville, Alabama, because she had been in college. She had gone to Oakwood, and she thought upper middle class town, country, but not, without education and culture, to be honest. And my dad fell in love with it, and we moved there when I was 6.
So The Truth in the chat is saying that Huntsville is a prison town. I never knew that. I knew it was a college town, a Nassau.
No. Who's that? D Truth? D
Yeah,
Truth?
The Truth.
Wrong Huntsville, Sweet Pea.
I was going to say, I didn't think
he's
that
talking
was...
about Huntsville, Texas. There's another Huntsville.
Oh, yeah, we're talking about Huntsville, Alabama.
Alabama, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Where all the musicians who've ever been anything have come from, other than Layla Hathaway.
Very true.
I tease Layla. I'm like, everybody. Brian McKnight, The Take Six, Commission, Naturally Seven, Little Richard. It goes way back.
Wait a minute. Commission is from Huntsville?
No, I did say Commission. I'm sorry. Committed.
Okay. I was about to say Marla.
Committed. I did. That's a mistake.
Okay.
That was an error. Thank you for correcting me, but not really, because same thing. Okay. couple of letters in there. No, I'm just kidding. It's not the same.
And The Truth just said, "Oh, okay, sorry." Okay, he did.
The Truth, back up, The Truth.
Yeah, don't do that.
Back that
okay.
Up.
All right.
So that's what happened. So my parents got divorced when I was 14, and my mom moved back to LA, and I followed my mother, which put me in line with collision with Moniece's father, who was an outgoing senior I've always been to public school other than one semester. And I transferred from Oakwood Academy to Linwood Academy, which is Seventh-day Adventist, which is how I grew up. And Michael Slaughter was a senior exiting, and I came halfway through the year, and I was a sophomore entering. And we connected and began dating traumatically. And one thing through life led to another. And when I was out of school and whatever, I ended up, that's a whole scenario. But I ended up going back to Huntsville when I was 17 to my freshman year of college at Oakwood.
Wow.
And then thought, that's a book. Like, it's a book, to be honest, because it's interesting because, some of this story, there's a whole other side of this story that needs to be told that I haven't really told because I just have shouldered the responsibility. But Moniece, her last name is Slaughter, so we all know that there's something else. So we'll get into that one day, but that's not what this is about today. Today, this is about mental health and the journey that I've been on and the things that have transpired with me and within my family that I really do feel like, unfortunately and fortunately, God brought me to this purpose without my asking. No one chooses this.
So,
but I'm here.
Let's go back a second, because you said you obviously get with Moniece's dad. You guys date. You have a baby. It doesn't.
Oh, we not even dated. We had asked me to marry him when I went to college. We dated, and then we came painfully close to. We discussed getting married, and I kept saying, "Let's have the baby, okay? First, let's just move in together." There was no incident I can speak of, and let me give this disclosure as I go forward. There's nothing that I'm going to tell you ever that is not hardcore, concrete truth, but I am very aware that the perception that others may have is their truth. But to me, a truth is a tangible piece of fact that can be proven.
Yeah.
So if you push me to prove a fact, I can prove the fact in its whole entirety, which is why this thing called social media has become so vile and detrimental, because people can alter fact. Go forward.
All right. Okay, so you all have a baby, and then I take it things did not work out in the relationship.
No, then I started understanding through God's providence, because I was young as hell. I was 19.
Yeah.
We did move in together. And then I understood, wait a minute. And what I remember Valerie more than anything is the first time. So what you're going to hear in this interview is the pivotal points in my life that I can actually identify and recognize that were moments of epiphany or awakening that turned me in a direction fully. Mm-hmm. At 19, I remember I really love him, but the rest of my life, scary. And I remember losing myself. I remember he could do whatever he needed to do. And it was the gaslighting, and it was all my friends were, bitches and hoes, and me isolating myself. Like literally, as social as I am, I literally found myself just to let me prove to you that, let me prove this to you. So, and people don't know this about me, but I've been down this journey. And so I was there. As strong as you see me now, I had given into, the eggshell philosophy. And then one day I remember, man, you just bounce when you want to bounce and do what you want to do, but you don't even want me to go bowling with my friends. Like what? Because my friends were bitches and hoes.
Well, that was just, and I know you know this now, but it sounds like he was just being mentally and verbally abusive and trying to isolate
you. He was absolutely, but
controlling
time,
you.
We don't have so this is how this plays in. At the time, you don't know that.
Right. Of course.
At the time, so the narcissistic personality survives by finding an empathic host.
Well, okay.
And so the empathic host is the hopeless owner of responsibility. The empathic host says, I'll make this right for you. Oh, I don't want you to be upset. Oh, he's about to go to red. The empathic host has this depth of ownership for themselves and for your issues. And I have the capacity. And once I show you how honest I am, and once I show you how faithful I can be, and once I show you how much I can change my lifestyle to fit you, then you'll see that, see how much I love you? Like, now can you feel this? What you don't realize is they can never feel it because they're going to keep asking you for more because it's a bottomless pit.
Right.
And it isn't you, it's them.
Right.
So when I finally was like, the culminating issue that had me leave the relationship was I went to my mother's house, which lived close by, and we had 2 cars. We both worked, and I went to wash clothes. And this is prior to cell phone day.
Yeah.
And between him calling me at my mother's house and coming back to our apartment, which was blocks away pretty much, he couldn't get me on the phone. He accused me of cheating. And instead of seeing, he literally didn't think, oh, the car keys are to the other car right here. And he left Moniece at home in her crib, drinking a bottle, propped the bottle up. And I crossed him. And when I got to the house and saw the baby, and I thought, oh, he couldn't be far.
Are you serious?
I'm not kidding. That was the day that I was like, I gotta go. And he came back home sweating because he was on foot, running to my mom's house, and came home. And when he started, turning over the furniture and the argument got crazy, I said, keep it. And my parents were always the one with the money. So everything in the home, they had pretty much purchased. And I keep it all. Then I took the baby. She was 6 months old, which was Moniece. And my parents talked to each other, and it was decided that the best thing for me to do was to move. And, the deception and the lie I told, scared of the consequence of just facing it and saying I'm leaving, was, oh, I'm going back to school. I lied. But the reality is that's how I ended up getting back to Huntsville. And that's how Dave and I reconnected fully and got back together. But backstory to that is then
I was about to say, tell them that how you met Dave.
In 10th grade. Well, I met Dave in 2nd grade. We dated a little bit in 8th grade, but who dates in 8th grade? There was nothing. This whole thing is silly. Like I say to my kids now, every time the language would change, I ask my kids, like, what does it mean? Like, so when you say you're hooking up, like, what is it? Because, it changes.
Yeah,
but you're laughing because at a certain point, relationships you recognize later are responsibility to care, responsibility to respond. There's a lot of responsibilities in relating, period. And so you're not doing anything in junior high. I hope not. But I can tell you, for me, there was no physical, consummation at that point in my life at all, period. And Dave I was going to my sophomore year. So I split the year because of my parents' scenario. So my mom left right before my sophomore year and moved away from my dad. And as a sophomore, I'm walking down the hallway, and Dave knocks on the glass, and we were dating seriously at that point. We were high school sweethearts. I knocked on the glass of the library, and he said, I'm gonna marry you. And I was like, ew, like, what are you, stupid? Like, we're kids. Like, what are you even talking about? So later, when we reconnected and he asked me to marry him, we were laughing because even now, if you talk to Dave, he'll tell you, see, I was a prophet. I'm like, dude, well, if you're a prophet, you should have stepped in before that whole debacle that I created over there. I mean, good luck.
No, that was necessary.
No, he's an ill-timed prophet, Val. I'm sticking to the story.
Anywho, and let me say this. I was going to say before you told it, which I think is beautiful that you told the story, because I saw Dave telling that story on a video. I think it was for one of your milestone birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
And he was giving a little speech, and he basically verbatim said exactly what you just said, that he knew as a little boy that he was in love with you and that you were going to be his wife, honey. And here you are, 118 years later. Y'all are still together.
Is it? Okay, my eyes roll big enough on here.
It's so cute.
Anyway, so that's the story. So we got married when Moniece was 1, and we are officially 34 legal years down the road.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, and in entertainment, that's like dog years. Like, so we're technically 134 years, 100 years extra. That we add 100 onto anything in entertainment.
Heck yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so the fact that too, let me just ask you this real quickly.
Ask me anything you want. Just you're the only one. You better ask everything everybody wants to know, because I'm not showing up on this show ever again. Not your show, maybe, but anybody else's. Don't ask me.
Okay. So this is about Dave. I think this is so beautiful and remarkable that at such a young age, even though, I mean, I know you're like his first love, you're the one he knew he always wanted to marry, but now you're coming back into his life and you have a baby, and he's a baby too at this time. So you're young, he's young, y'all got a baby.
Y'all didn't have a baby. I had a baby.
Well, okay. Very good point. Well, it's always like that, isn't it? Mm-hmm. No matter how many babies you have with a person,
if you watch,
you're the one with the baby.
If you watch This Is Us, that's not true. It was it's the little guy who had the baby. Anyway, let me not digress. Ask your question.
Well, let me ask you this. Did the weight of this type of commitment from a man of this age, and let me go back for a second. At this time, was he in Tech 6 at this point?
Well, when we were dating.
Yeah. Well, no. Oh, when he was okay, right.
No, we were dating
in high school.
No. We started dating when I left and went to Huntsville. Remember, my parents thought it'd be best that Michael and I be separate.
Yeah,
I wasn't in college though. I went back just as an adult. Like I went back to Huntsville because my father had property there. So he said, send her there. She can stay here. Mm-hmm. And I went back to Huntsville. I wasn't in college. I just was a young mom.
Right.
I was working.
Right.
And so at that point,
but here he is. He has this he's
Well, not yet. So this is interesting. Not yet.
Okay.
So they were alliance at that time.
Okay.
So he was just doing Dave, and I was just doing Marla.
Okay.
And when I moved there in when this was 6 months, so the summer, fall, and then in December, he started talking about wanting to marry me. Now, Take 6 hadn't become a Take 6 yet.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I did not sign up for this. I'm sorry. I mean, I did not. And I love you, but I said, I'm going home. Because at that moment, unbeknownst to everybody, I was feeling like I needed to get my headspace right. I didn't know. I was young. Fair. I was 19. I had a 6-month-old baby. I didn't hate her dad. And I knew he didn't have the means that we had. So if I made a choice to be somewhere permanently, all he claimed he wanted was to deal with the fact that he came from a broken family and he did not want that supposedly for his daughter. So I said, I know he can't fly back and forth. He can't. So I told David, I didn't come here for this. And I came home in December.
What?
Yes, I came back to LA. And then in that interim, he said, I said one day, what are you doing? He said, oh, we just signed a record deal with Warner Brothers. I said, oh, okay, well, cool. What are you guys saying? He said gospel, but I hadn't heard anything yet. And he said, what are you and Moniece doing? Why don't you guys fly out and let's go to the show? So we went to the show at TSU, and I was in the audience, and I thought, and Dave is like this. Dave is like a slow moving train. Like he never it never speeds up. He doesn't change tracks. He's just like, Dave, okay.
Just chill.
And the only reason that he'll always catch up to you is because he never stops and you burn out. So it's like, what are you doing, man? Okay, we're leaving. And then like 5 years later, here comes Dave. That's Dave. So he says, you know, I want you and Moniece to come to where I am. And we do. And I was like, I heard the show and I thought, what? He downplays everything.
Oh, so you're telling me that it wasn't until you saw the show that you even realized the
I'd never heard
amount of talent that this group had.
That's correct.
How about Dave? Did you know he had talent though? You at least knew that.
But he never expressed wanting to be in a group. I was telling him, if you want to, he was always musically inclined. I'm like, you know, but he could always sing and whatever. I'm like, do your thing.
Right.
So if you talk to him today, he'll tell you Take 6 wasn't his plan. So at that point, this happened. And I just was dumbfounded. Like, because also I'm a popular music person. Don't ask me shiznit because I don't know. Like hey, do you know this jazz saxophonist? I say, hey, stop. Before you go down the list, I said the only thing jazzy on me is right here. I sleep with a jazz person. I don't know your people. Your people do not know me. So don't start with the whole thing. I'm not her. So, but I know talent. You know what I'm saying? So like my friends who are my true friends, Layla, one of the most gifted vocalists to ever breathe, but she's my friend. So therefore, I understand her talent, but I'm not you don't send me a song and ask me what I think as you're going to weigh in on it. Cause I don't know anything about your chords, lady.
You got some really, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, and I'm just going to take the guys off the table. Let's take every male off the table. Let's look at your girlfriends alone. And I won't go down the list, but the top two, I mean, not top two. I don't know who your closest friends are, but two of them come to mind. One you just named and another one.
And Brandy.
Yes. I'm like, they are remarkable.
But you have to remember that, and I guess this is the big thing for me, and it's my own thing. People want to be people first.
Absolutely.
And what I've been to these people that I've met through this life, through Dave's experience, are people. And I think if you were to interview them both, which you should, the respect of just seeing them for them as people and then saying, this is who they are, but this is also what they do. Because the world recognizes the talent.
What they do. Exactly.
I recognize the person.
Exactly.
In its flaw, in its good stuff and its bad stuff. It doesn't matter because that's me. I'm good. I'm not all one thing.
Right. Who is?
But people want to fake like they are. Hello, Instagram.
That's true.
I can't be on a vacation every 2 weeks.
That's true.
In my fly gear.
Right.
Fly.
Oh, yeah. Getting up, getting dressed just to take some pictures. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So let's fast forward. You guys finally, actually do get married. You agree to this, obviously, which I
So
still
that's so
am
let me so let me
tripping.
tell you. So let me give you another insight.
That's a very young man. I just can't get over
Here's
this.
another exclusive.
Okay.
I come home. Now there is Take 6. Dave gets ready to take his first international tour.
Mm-hmm.
He flies to LA, which is where I'm back at my mom's house.
Mm-hmm.
And I take him to the airport, and he says, on a knee, will you marry me? And I say, no.
That's why he
And
loves you so much. You so hard to get.
I said, it may be, but it wasn't my intention. So I said, I just can't. He just was like, what? And I said, I just can't drag you into the confusion right now that's in my head.
I understand that.
I do love Michael, but I don't want to marry him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't see the rest of my life, but I also don't see, just making it impossible for him to be with Moniece at best, which is what he claimed to want. And
when
so
you were saying, but wait, Marla, when you saying I love Michael, you weren't meaning I'm in love. You mean
I was
was still in love.
Well, no, not at that point. But know this about me, Val. I know I'm a dichotomous female. I'm super open, but I'm not open.
I got you.
That's my personality.
Yeah.
But promiscuity, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think about myself.
Yeah.
What I've learned early was a couple irresponsible decisions that I got burned in. And then thought, okay. So, all right. What I thought to myself was, it's about you. So spend enough time, Marla, to know what you want. Because if you decide to have a sexual experience with someone,
mm-hmm.
and they don't call you back,
mm-hmm.
but you thought it was this, and they were just in this other mode.
Mm-hmm.
If you know for sure your feelings won't be hurt, get what I'm saying? So so for me, it wasn't about them. It was about taking the time to know that I could survive hurt stuff.
Yeah.
And that's very few people. So I never got off a handful. And to be honest, with the deceasing of one, there's now only 4 humans alive that can say they went there. So, and 2 were like marriages. So for me, that's my true story.
You said something that I also thought was interesting. Earlier on in the conversation, when you said, you were talking about how as strong of a person as you are right now is the strength that you carried at 18, 19 years old. You also said you were trying to, you said you had lost yourself in that relationship with Michael. And when I think about myself at 18 and 19, I didn't even know who I was, let alone lose myself to somebody else.
Well, the one thing I think the gift that God has given me is I learn more about me every day, but I've always known and accepted the core of who I was. And that happened for me, Valerie. Again, I told you there's pivotal moments that I will never forget. That happened for me at 13. It was a summer. I was about to go into my freshman year of high school. And there was a guy that I was liking who I ended up dating. And he was in the public school system in Huntsville. And I remember thinking, oh, he goes to public school. And I remember trying to compete, like in my silly little brain. And I was like, okay, so I need to, wear makeup and all this. And I remember thinking, I hate this. And at that moment, I said to my friend, I'm not. I would rather be me, because I then understood that if you were in my life at all, you at least were in it for me. I was trying because I came from
to keep up with a certain standard
so I thought,
really wasn't.
Maybe I need to wear shorter skirts, or I wanted to look like the public school girls.
Right.
And I just was miserable. I was like, this is not my personality. I'm an athletic person.
Right.
100%, in for me, and I'll just say this, 100% hetero, but definitely on the spectrum athletically, I'm not here to be played with on anything I take up. Right. So if it comes time now, Second Amendment comes time for that. Oh, I'm shooting the fly off the nose of that target over there. Done. Gonna happen. And it does. So the bottom line is that's my personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to get to that understanding. So I feel like it's a gift that God is like, oh, I know who Marla is, and I have an inventory. Mm-hmm. Everything Marla is not perfect. It's not great. It's not the best thing. There's a list of things that are kind of jacked up. There's a list of things that are good. But the more here's the thing. The more I've accepted me in my full truth, my negatives became positives. And the one thing I use all the time is I've always been an extreme communicator. My mother's right there on that chair over there in her house. She will tell you I came out talking. So for people that say, oh, she talks too much or whatever, probably I see that as a thing. But the more I own that, it's because I have a lot to say. And my experiences have been in my life. Now God knows I'll say it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the point. So it could be negative if I use it to gossip and to destroy people, and that could be a negative thing. You just talk too much.
But look, I had the same problem, and that's why I said I need a podcast, or I need to be a trainer or a speaker for a living, because I came out the womb talking to. So I got you. I'm right there with you.
So that's the point.
Let me ask you this, Marla. What's the age difference between Moniece and DJ?
Moniece and DJ are 18 months apart. 18 months. They're 2.5 years.
2.5 years. Okay. So then that means that fairly quickly, let's go back. You said no to him. When did you finally say yes, Marla?
I said no in the airport, and he was crushed, but he said, you know what? I just respected your honesty, because I said, I just can't drag you to the confusion in my head. He said in the airport, he said, well, I just want you to be clear that, I'm a man and, I have needs and blah, blah, blah. I said, get your needs met. Do you, boo? Literally.
Right.
I said,
you're not going to manipulate me.
I said, I understand. And when I'm ready, I'll let you know. And if the timing is right, it is. Now, my mother, there's some profound things that have happened. And I because of my history with my mom, and that's online, you guys can go deal with that. I'm not getting into that right now. But my mother, one of the profound things she said, because I was crushed, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether I was trying to, I was going to force myself to make this work with Mike, the Dave thing. I didn't know what was happening. So my mom said, your stress is because he's telling you he wants to be here for Moniece. Stop asking him for anything that has to do with Moniece.
Okay, well, go back. Wait, what did she mean by that? Were you asking? You weren't asking him.
Yeah. Like, are you are you going to come pick her up, or like, are you going to spend time? Like, what?
Oh, she's talking about Michael. She's not talking about.
No,
Dave.
She's not talking about Dave. I'm saying, so right. Let's talk about Mike.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Because remember, I didn't get married at that moment, because that was really my driving reason why at that moment to not, because I knew it meant moving to Nashville. Because Dave was just starting into Take 6, and everybody was there.
Yeah.
So I knew what that meant, and I was like, okay, well, my mom said, listen. I was losing weight. Listen, Valerie, when I got married to David, I was 117 pounds. I'm 5'8".
I was going to say, Marla, you and I are like the same. I'm 5'9.5". We're like right there.
Yeah, no, you're like actually in the WNBA. I'm on the bench.
No, actually, I'm on the bench. I'm that one that's called for no good reason. You're the one that can play.
I'm like, no, girl, you're in the game. I'm on the bench. 5'8". Stop it. Anyway, so that happened, and my mom said, just don't ask him for anything. And if his intention is about Moniece,
he'll do
just
it.
let him do what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
And in that time period, which was January to March He bought one package of diapers. That's it. Never paid a dime. Never, didn't really, I think he may have kept her like once or twice. And, got into another relationship, took her over there, just whatever. And that didn't bother me. What bothered me was I'm contemplating staying. So I called Dave and I said, if you still want to get married, let's do it. Because I'm gonna move. I knew it meant moving.
What was that time period though between
3 months?
That was, girl. Let me tell you something. You don't play around though. Like if you think about this, Marla, what you just described, all transpired within a 3-year period of time from the time you're with Michael, you have a baby, you get back with Dave, you guys end up getting married, and you end up having another child 2 years later. So in like a 3-year period, a lot going on.
That's my life.
It's a lot. Okay.
So we got married. So Dave was like, yes. So we got married March 25th at the courthouse in Los Angeles. Wow. I did not tell Michael because he's crazy. Well, oops.
We ain't there yet. Okay.
Well, and I'm only saying oops. I'm transparent, but I'm saying oops because that's a word that I want to take out of my vocabulary. Michael's on a spectrum of imbalance. And I knew if I told in advance what I was going to have to deal with. So I called him as I was leaving town. We had gotten married. Funny true story. Dave and Take Six was in the studio with Stevie Wonder. And Dave went into the session all happy. Hey, Stevie, guess what? I'm getting married today, man. David, that's a beautiful thing. Blah, 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 blah. So at some point, Stevie, blind and unable to tell time, I love Stevie, says to Dave, David, you're supposed to be getting married. You have to get out of here, man. And Dave was like, oh, man. So we were the last ones in the courthouse in Los Angeles. Real story. No rings.
What? No
hoopla, no nothing. There was a court clerk who was a ghetto lady in a mini skirt and sandal and slippers as the witness. No joke.
So the parents didn't come on either side?
Nobody.
Why?
We had a wedding a week later. This was our marriage. We got married in LA at the Justice of the Peace.
Okay.
Left my daughter with my mom, who flew her because we drove across country. We thought that would be too much for little 1-year-old Moniece. She was 1.
Gotcha.
Exactly 1. Her birthday's March 4. We got married March 25th. She's a little thing.
Aww.
And my mom said, sure, I'll keep her and bring her. We got married in Huntsville exactly a week later. Wow. And at the wedding, everybody was there. Take Six was there. My parents were there. Right. But it was a wedding, but we were already married.
Wow. Okay. All right. So you guys get married. You moved to Nashville, obviously. That's where you
moved
lived.
Immediately to Nashville, correct.
And then you had another baby 2.5 years later, or a year and a half later.
No, I had DJ. So we got married March 25th. I had DJ August 14th the following year.
Wow. Okay.
Because of Dave. Because Dave's penis is impatient.
Mom, excuse her.
No, she had kids.
What about Drew? How old is she? What's her?
So Drew and Moniece are 7 years apart. So Drew's 29.
Oh, okay.
So my children right now are 35, 32, and 29.
Okay. All right.
So
let's fast forward a bit. So now, you're this wife, you're a stay-at-home mom. Well, to a degree, because you've always, from what I understand, you're a real estate agent, you're a fitness trainer.
In Nashville, I worked. I was in finance. I worked at the bank, First American Bank, and I worked in an actual independent finance company.
Okay.
So I worked, and I became a mother, and I suffered. I suffered like every other person on this planet, Val. No,
but wait, I do believe it because
it's true.
Especially back then, you might as well have been, and this is Dave. This is not a dig at you. Okay, this is just what it is. The nature of his business forces you still to be a single parent.
I used to call myself a single mom with finance.
Because the truth is, At
He
that
was never
time,
home.
he was never home, probably.
How about this, Val? You want the best story ever
Yes.
to prove my point?
Mm-hmm.
David Thomas and Take Six were on tour with Al Jarreau when it was time for me to give birth to DJ. The promoter called my obstetrician
And said what?
Jesus Christ is my witness here, and said, we cannot afford to give him more than 3 days off. When will it be safe to take the baby? They put me in the hotel. We checked into the hospital August 14th in the morning. Excuse me. Came to the hotel on the 13th, checked into the hospital on August 14th in the morning. Cesarean. Cut me open. Oh, Mr. Thomas, here's your baby. Oh, he's so cute. What are you going to name him? Dave, of course. Ego. And gave a videotape. And on the 15th, the night of the 15th, he was gone. He took a videotape and he didn't see DJ again until he was 3.5 months old. That's a true story.
Are you for real?
As for real as I am, Marla Annette McCraw Thomas, black lady on your show. Is that me?
I would be a crazy person.
I was crazy. He had colic, and Moniece was 2.5 and talked like you're talking right now. And she would wake up. He would go to bed. I can't even talk about this to make my neck hurt. He would go to bed. He would cry all night.
Mm-hmm.
Literally till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. He had colic.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd go to sleep at around 2 or 3, and she'd wake up at 6:30. And Mom, you said you were going to take me to the library. Mom, you said, I'm like, and there were times at night with DJ, I would just cry. I'd rock him, try to comfort him because he's pulling his little knees up to his chest. And he would cry and I would cry, but I had him. And when Dave came home, he was 3.5 months old.
That's crazy. Okay. So fast forward, when did you first discover that either any of your children were struggling with anything?
The first time that I had an inkling with Moniece, she was 11 months old.
11 months old?
I said months. I said 11 months is what I said. I just said 11 months in case you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Is this thing on?
Is
Wait,
this on?
Wait, what do you mean? What did you notice? What?
So Dave and I went, he asked me, Marla, would you, please, could you, go for travel with us for this weekend? It was close by. So his mother was keeping Moniece. Mm-hmm. And when we got back, which was a weekend, your children, their identification is you until they get their own identification. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so when we got back, I was like, hey, big girl. And she was like, and I was like, I looked at Dave and he went over his mother's other shoulder. Hey, big girl. And she was like, and I looked at him and I said, is she ignoring us? At 11 months old? Literally. It was so shocking because that's just not even, they're like, oh my God, my whole life is back. For real. That is just the reality of norm. And I was not young enough. Obviously we're all super educated, but I understood that. And I'm like, and I said it out loud to Dave. I said, that's not right. How is she giving us the cold shoulder at 11 months old? And it's not like she was mistreated by his mother. She's in the perfect care. So I'm like, what is going on? So that was number one. Mm-hmm. Then when she was 4, mm-hmm. This is the big one. So Dave again gone. I used to joke and say he's gone 367 days out of the year.
Not 67.
So, yeah, it's not right. And then I used to joke him and I'm like, dude, whatever this thing is called an album, you better speed it up, make more money, do something. Like, you better put this thing in hyperspeed, sing faster. So we were, Moniece was in preschool and she would come home at night. He wasn't there. And she would start crying. Now I had DJ and Moniece. And she would start crying. She's about 4, he's about, 2. And all of a sudden she would start crying and she would say, everybody hates me. The kids at school, they're saying mean things to me, and they said that they're having a party and that I can't go. And so now I'm believing, I'm comforting her. They said I'm ugly, and I'm comforting her. I'm like, these kids are picking on my kid. I'm gonna kill these little children and their parents. And I'm murdering everybody there. Like, this is Nashville. She's in a white school in Brentwood. And, I'm immediately playing the race card in my brain. I'm like, okay, y'all, you want to see race? I got race for you. And I had to do everything by myself. So I was a tough one. But I was also very poised. I went to the school and I said, hey, I had an issue. My daughter comes home every evening, said the kids are picking on her, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know how we're going to rectify this, but this has to be dealt with. Mrs. Thomas, I should have known then. The lady was so cautiously embarrassed. She said, we'd like to invite you to the school during our open play times. Anytime, just don't call us first. Just stop by. And we'd like you to watch your daughter through the one-way mirror.
Valerie? You're like, I know my daughter. I see her every day. I know my daughter.
Oh, you're trying to pin this on Moniece because she's cuter than all the rest of the kids and blah, 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 blah. And I got to that school to the craziest awakening. That was when my heart was like, everything she said those kids were doing to her, she was doing to them. You're ugly. You're not coming to my party. I'll be sure is coming over to my party, and this person's coming, and you're not invited, and you're not invited, and you're this and you're that. And I was like, if I could have crawled out of that school and not scuffed up my arms, I'd have done it. I swear to God, I was like, oh no!
But you had no clue she would
would
even act like this around other children.
So now go forward just slightly. Now I'm like, oh, manipulation. I get it. So at night, I bathe her, I get her ready for bed, and she starts in. Everybody thinks I'm ugly. I'm like, you're right. You're hideous. Now let's go to the room and let's read you a story, because I'm like, okay, you're right. I get it. And it was, I still loved her, and nothing changed, but I did not receive any more from that moment on her narrative and projection. It was projection. I saw it. So it's not like I had to guess. It wasn't like I had to listen to somebody else. And this is the thing that angers me. I'm going to say this here. I am her mother, and I have mothered her from the beginning. No one else stepped in. I don't care what Moniece is saying about we had to live in. Yes, we did. No one raised my children but me and Dave. Period. So stop the BS. I've been there from the beginning of time. So what I know, not because someone else had to tell me or I need to deal with somebody else's perceptions. It's not true. So when Dave came home, let's call Dave the public.
Mm-hmm.
I said, guess what happened? Marla, that can't be right. Typical. I said, okay, go ahead. Oh, big girl, that's not true. The people stare at you because you're beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. Affirmation. And I said, okay, go ahead. And then he saw it. And I said, so he said, well, that's the only way she's going to go to sleep. And she's really suffering. And no. So I said, you're right. She started in, and I said, you monstrous. You just a hideous little baby. He said, you're just, and she's
I can't with you.
I said, you certainly are. Now let's go to bed and let me read you a story. And I would rub her and put her in the bed, and she would go right to sleep for me. But she would work him over the coals.
Uh-huh. Well, something you're saying right now hits home, because anytime, for those of you in the chat who have seen interviews in the past where Moniece speaks of her dad, she's talking about Dave, for one, that is her dad.
Right.
And two, that Dave, she really does idolize him. Like it feels like she thinks he is perfection and he understands her. He's her person. Like, he gets her from her standpoint.
Well, we're dealing with that in a big way right now, Val, because Dave has now admitted even to Moniece in making a mistake in how he managed her. Because my thing was, he apologized to her, and his apology was, I should not have accepted. I walked away when I saw you lying constantly as an adult, because I felt like, if that's what you want to do, do your thing. But I knew the things you were saying. I've been in your presence when you've been telling blatant lies. So his apology was, I should have actually confronted your lies, and I didn't. So
yeah, because that's she wants to look even more like the bad guy.
Correct. His nature is an easier nature. Fact on fact. That's why we are who we are.
But what I will also say is what Dave did here, not with the apology, but the years prior, is what a lot of fathers do in particular, especially if they're gone a lot, or let's say they're in separate households. That dad doesn't want to be the bad guy,
right?
Because they're already not there. Right. So it's like,
I definitely say on record that Dave has hero syndrome. Period. And I'm boots on ground. Mm-hmm. And so because I'm the one who confronts and cleans up, I'm like Marla, like Tony Soprano. Like that's me. I'm dragging folks out of drug houses and threatening friends, and that's me. Like I'm like, don't talk to me about, my son, get the hell out of here. Like this is what I've done through the years. And so
wow, that's
Moniece, the one thing, every now and then I just get fed up. And what I said to Moniece, and I'll say it here, I said, first of all, no slight on Dave, ever. He's an incredible father. He's a good man, period. Let me say that.
For sure.
He did not marry your ass.
Right.
He married me.
Good point.
But that's not the point. It's not a her or me.
Right.
You're giving all this credit. I made a conscious decision and a choice that was going to be best for you. Mm-hmm. I didn't date around. I didn't allow random men to run up in and out of your life, because my fear of, what I said to my mother, it's going to be me and Moniece against the world, because I'm not going to date. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That I'm not going to date. I said, I'm going to make sure that whoever gets into our lives loves her as much as, or more than, they love me, because I know that I can be a complicated piece of work, as you just talked about earlier, and then complicated in that way. Not that I'm, blah, 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 but my paradigm is my paradigm, and I'm not budging, and I'm gonna get what I feel like I deserve, but I'm gonna give the same. Mm-hmm. That's my personality.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so he starts to see some of these attributes or characteristics that Moniece is displaying with other kids. When was the next time you start to really see a real issue?
Junior high.
When
I walked past Moniece's room and she's on the phone, and I didn't even recognize who was talking.
Oh, what'd you hear?
Oh my gosh, swearing and talking like she was from the street. And I went to Dave, and I scrambled past the bedroom, the door was shut. I went to my room, and I said, dude, please just go stand outside the door and listen. I think she has multiple personalities. I think she has multiple personality disorder. You can't even recognize who she is. Mm. That was 8th grade.
8th grade.
Yes. And I was, and the thing about it though, Val, is nothing stuck. We started her in therapy in 5th grade.
Okay.
She was having issues with her biological dad, and now we know they're one and the same, but at the time you don't know that. And so he only cared about the fact that, which is interesting, you want to know God's irony. I almost had to kill him physically over the fact that he was angry that people were calling her Moniece Thomas. her biological name is Moniece Slaughter. Mike and I were together, but I left and got married to another man who we were family. Right. So everybody didn't see us separate. They just would call her Moniece Thomas. We didn't care. So when she went to school, she was Moniece Thomas in elementary school. Mike shows up to the school, never paid a drop of child support. I just have to put that in the ether because I have a backstory crawl with that. But he went to the school and flipped out that they were calling her Thomas instead of Slaughter. To the point that he took her from the school, and I thought she'd been kidnapped. That's a whole nother story. And when I found out he had her, I was like, oh, good. This doesn't want to be responsible. He'll bring her back. And sure enough, it's antics. But
not antics.
It was antics. So, you're out here playing games. You want my attention? You got it. Here you go. Blah, blah, blah. So
it's jealousy, ego.
Oh, absolutely. You in a pissing contest. And my reality was, because you choose to not be to be emotionally responsible, which is all I ask, because you've chosen that, Michael, all I'm saying to you right now is I don't want her to feel like she's a part of nothing.
Right.
She's included here. She's not even, there's no difference. Never have my kids said, those are my step siblings, my step brother and sister. Never.
Right.
Those all kids of mine, we raised them all. So stop it. Mm-hmm. So when that happened, God's irony, she became Moniece Slaughter of Love and Hip Hop. If I didn't show my face, you'd have not known it was me. But you knew it was him. He hates the fact that is what she is known for and her depiction on that. But guess whose last name she looks just like him. Proudly
Does she? Because she looks just like you to me. I've obviously never seen a picture of him. But when I tell you that she looks like you to me, it's crazy.
I don't know where my phone went, but I would show you. Oh, there's my phone. I'm on my phone. Anyway, you should. Yeah. I would. That's an interesting study because if I showed you a picture of Michael, you'd say,
Here's the other irony in that is the fact that, like you said, she's known as Moniece Slaughter of Love and Hip Hop, but who she calls dad, who she talks
David
about
is her father.
Dad is Dave Thomas. That is her daddy all day long.
There's no. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. Hold on one second. Dave is her dad. Period. End of story. And I'm gonna. Oh, look at that. It'll be easy for me to do. Hold on, Val. Mm-hmm. You're getting. This is beyond tea. This is what we call coffee because it's factual.
Oh, wow. He's a good looking man, too. Of course he is.
She
does look like her dad. But I think she looks more like her mama, but she does look like him. Yeah.
Okay. So there you go.
You got a little type, too, though. But, never mind.
The type has me.
All right. I heard that, too. All right. So let's go forward a little bit. So you hear that. Let's go back. When you mentioned that you thought that she had multiple personalities, was there a real thought or were you just messing around with it?
No.
And then what did the psychologist say?
Well, that's the psychiatrist. So let me tell you this. So her first introduction to therapy was 5th grade. And that's why, because of the situation that was going on, because Michael was in a full court press, which, by the way, I didn't know till later. I didn't know till later the things he was saying to her behind the scenes. Your mom took you away from me, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to be responsible. All we asked you to do is pay lunch money because he had gone to school. And I'm not trying to put anybody, in jail for what they can't do. So just make an effort. So there's something, you know what I'm saying? So he was taking that conversation to her. And that was an issue. So when the psychologist first started, she was diagnosed initially with depression as a child in 5th grade. Okay. And we kept going because, and he says, if it doesn't get better, we're going to have to medicate her, quote. So I want to stop right here and say this. The mental health treatment is a journey.
Yeah. Because they're practicing. They're trying to figure out what's going
Correct.
on.
And let me also say this. It's the one malady that we have in the world that doesn't examine the organ or the system of dysfunction. If your kidneys fail, what do? You go see a nephrologist. If your heart fails, what do? You go see a cardiologist. If you have a tooth pain, what do? You go see your dentist. If your teeth are crooked, you go to the orthodontist, and we do an X-ray, and we find out, oh, what's that? Oh, you got extra teeth up here. Let's pull these.
Mm-hmm.
We only deal with mental health based on behavioral sphere. We're based on an arc. It's not even based on you. It's based on something else I've learned about something else and a study of behavior before you got here, psychology. I'm not looking at your brain function. Dr. Amen does that, but it's expensive as hell. It's $5,000, and that's another thing. So the
what?
Yeah, don't even start me. So the matriculation of treatment should be expected. I believe people don't know what to expect. No, private. I want to respond to TC, HBCQU TIVI PIV TV.
You call her TC. Yes. So TC. So it wasn't the school you decided.
No, it was us.
You sought out the professional. Gotcha.
We paid all the way through. So that happened. Yes. And so then, and as time goes on, it gets worse.
Wait, hold on. It probably would run about. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Chipper, I'm sorry. I'm missing.
They're talking about they're glad baseball wives didn't happen because it's so intrusive. It would have probably ruined their lives. Probably.
Oh, baseball wives.
But let me say this. I'm not afraid of reality TV. I'm afraid of the narrative that people want to actually spin to benefit the outcome. So here's what's crazy. If you just ran a camera, we'd have a #1 show in all countries because what's in my family is drama. In its nature. You don't have to keep. It's sad. I'm put that out there. It's sad. I'm exhausted. No one chooses this. I wish I could act. People used to come up to me on the street and say, "Oh, Love and Hip Hop is scripted." I was like, "What script?" I wish. Maybe other storylines were manipulated, even mine, from the inside. But there was no script. And I got my love handed to me because I was so, and I literally, when it all went down, I finally said, Val, you know what? I said, guess what, VH1? I was the only real in your reality. Good one. You got me. And I said, and the worst part is, I said what I said. I meant what I said. You took it out of context. Who cares? I said it. If anybody wants to know what I said in context, let me know. I'll let you know. I'll tell you straight out. But you worked to make America think I didn't love my daughter. That's where this began. And it wasn't true.
Okay, we're gonna get there. Let's take a quick break. I'm gonna run a quick commercial. Grab some water or something, folks in the chat. I think we're about to get into some real deep stuff now, in particular. So do me a favor, please share this out to anyone and everyone that you feel would be interested. I think we're going to touch on some really interesting points and
I'm going to go to the
challenging things. Go ahead.
I'm going to go to the watering hole and share it with Val, and then I'm going to die.
Oh, gosh, shut up. All right, y'all, let's take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You over here jamming, Marla? I saw you over here jamming, girl. Look, to the folks in the chat, if you came in while we were talking, I apologize. I didn't get to say hi. I just want to skim through real quick. Hey, Barn Dog, how are you? Chip of the Air is here. Who else came in? Hey, GFTV. Hey, ZX. Thank you for sharing it out. TC, you know you've been in the conversation already. I don't have to say hi to you again. Absolute. And Londo. Hey, Londo. Hey, Cece Roberson. And who else? Did I miss anybody else? Okay. So, okay. Now, here's a few things because I know your life has so many moving parts. And even when it comes to this mental health stuff, there's so many moving parts. I've heard you in the past speak of your father.
Mm-hmm.
There was some
narcissism.
Things. Okay, narcissism.
Yeah.
From your father. Mm-hmm. Then we've got Moniece, who at this point it's just speculation. You're noticing some things aren't right.
No. Moniece got diagnosed when she was 21, before she was pregnant with Cam, with us.
But what I'm saying is, when we fast forward as a child, later on in life, you find out one of your children, and you're noticing that as a kid, and then when
my son.
DJ, and that's what I was about to get to. So then, but DJ, let me ask you this, because the public on the flip side, now obviously you know what's going on in real life in real time, and you know the order of events, but from our perspective, because we meet Moniece from Love and Hip Hop, right?
Correct.
And from there, we see Moniece as, I'll put it this way. I saw Moniece as being this smart, beautiful, articulate, talented young lady who obviously has been raised up in the industry to some degree. I mean, obviously a great balance of family foundation, but also enough exposure where she understands, you know, the industry, how it works. She's got you know, that knowledge base. So I saw her as a perfect person for this kind of show, because as you know, they introduce her character, I'm like, oh, okay, so she's the mother of a child with the guy from B2K, Lil Fizz, and then she's, you know, so that says that she's got her own set of friends and network of people. Then you learn she's dated other guys in the industry. So she's talking a lot about her relationships online. So we're seeing her as a very outgoing kind of personality. Sometimes, I don't know if this is the best word, but aggressive at times, but in a different, she knows how to be aggressive in a way where it doesn't look like what aggression normally looks like, but she's very smart and clever.
Val,
I would say that.
Body and you smash her head onto a table. That's aggressive, is as aggressive as it gets.
What? What did you just say?
In season 1, that was what she was known for, the snatch and grab, when she grabbed Fizz's girlfriend at the time, Amanda, and smashed her head down. That's not disguised, you know, aggression.
That's true. I forgot that happened. I'm sorry. I forgot.
When you try to throw a chair at somebody who's pregnant, that's not disguised aggression.
You're right.
And let me just say this. What you're going to get from me always is I had a brief, unfortunate conversation, my first one with Moniece, honestly, last night. I'm not going to get into all the details, but what I'm saying is this in a nutshell. If you're going to trauma therapy, good for you. But you're going to trauma therapy to deal with the trauma that you have literally imposed upon yourself. And in this discussion, when I ask her, I'm listening. Tell me something I've done that you're telling me, oh, you think you were the mother that you were. What? There's no words. Nothing comes out. So if there's a behavior that I'm aware of, or one that you make me aware of, knowing how much I love you, that I can change, I will see it and I will work my ass off to change it. But if you can't come up with anything, which you can't, and I can't come up with anything, then it's your trauma to unwind based on the perceptions and the things you're doing to yourself in your own life. You don't need me to participate in that. And worse, you're telling me that my presence is your trauma. I'm out. And
Okay.
what happened with what happened with Moniece this last time, I can come back from anything. But what I cannot come back from is your online expose where you call me a bitch and where you go on another person's show and say, and in case you want to know, and yes, it is, fuck your mama. I can't feel this way about you, even now. And what I told her last night, she said, if you should have just aborted me. I did not, it wasn't even an option because I love you. I've loved you then. I will love you always. But now I must love you from a distance because you have literally shown me that in your mind, I am the reason for your destruction because what I know to be love and help, you have distorted it in the eye of the public to be something totally different. And even if it is a mental health issue, it's yours to fix, not mine. You are 35 years old.
Right.
I will work for a baby. I will work for an adolescent. I will work for children until the age of accountability. But at some point, we're having a grown folks fight. Right. Meaning, if your objective is to destroy me and not to even love me, I have to decide whether I'm gonna let you kill me. And I'm not about that business. I got things God asked me to do. And if it means that I have to just mute you, you, my friend, my daughter, my first love are now on ice. You are muted. Because God has said so. Because I see that I'm your problem. So he's got to deal with you without me in the picture.
Okay, but Marla, so let's go back a minute. So look, when I was saying how the public got to know Moniece and we saw things that looked like maybe she has some challenges, but I don't know that I looked at it and saw it as a mental health crisis that I was looking at, right? Because I'm just out here looking.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, but the next thing we do start to hear about, this is a couple years down the road. Well, I shouldn't say when the public learns about it. Oh, yes, I can. There was a whole situation about 3 years ago. And this is when you were sharing more about what you were facing with your son. And
when I found out D was schizophrenic.
You found out your son had, but there's what's the full diagnosis? Schizophrenia.
He's bipolar 1 with schizoaffective disorder. As we
schizoaffective disorder. Okay. So when
schizoaffective.
When you shared that with us, the public, you were seeking, what is the best recourse to get him therapy, affordable therapy, but the best therapies. I remember you were talking about it on social media. People within your network sort of kind of jumped to assist, and somebody on your behalf, not because you asked, but because they felt like, oh, this is the great way to get Marla and her family the resources they need. We're going to contact Dr. Phil.
That happened.
And ask Dr. Phil to have you all on the show.
That's exactly what happened.
And Dr. Phil invited the entire family. Everybody came on.
No, Dr. Phil, daughter. Right, except they didn't find out that Moniece was in our family until 24 hours before we filmed. And
Shut up!
And they called and said, wait a minute, we just found out. And so can you ask? And I said, I'm not doing that because I don't want it to be a circus. These are words. And I said, and because it was just me, Dave, and DJ. And I said, if you're going to have Moniece, if you find Moniece and you can and Moniece is going to be on, I said, then it has to be Lexi too. It needs to be all 5 of us because I need families like ours to see that 2 parents who've dedicated their lives to raising a family can have 2 kids that may be on another spectrum and 1 that is not. We've raised them all. So show the whole family. So you can see Lexi didn't really want to, but she came and she walked in and they said, no. And then, and right before we got ready to start, They sat her in the audience and brought Moniece because they knew it was going to be explosive.
Right.
That's what happened. So
Okay.
Lexi was there. She just wasn't on stage because they played us.
I did not realize she was there.
She was there.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So let's talk about that for a second. So at this point, the public doesn't know that there's any sort of diagnosis around Moniece per se, but we're now learning about DJ. And
yeah.
And then during that whole show, tell me what stands out the most about that experience with Dr. Phil? Because I know you don't have a lot of great response about it. But.
Well, what stands out most to me about that show was David and I only had one objective. We knew that at that point we had done so much work to try to get Dee into the proper treatment that we knew that it was going to require an IOP treatment, which is inpatient. It was going to cost $15,000 to $20,000 a month that our no insurance would cover in the states of California or Florida. Facts. So what they asked, well, what do you guys want? And I said, all I want is for you to be able to afford him this treatment so anything I tried to talk as little as possible on that show because I didn't want anything to interrupt the objective. It wasn't about me. It was about DJ. And it then became the DJ and Moniece dysfunction show. And I just remember being frustrated, like, oh, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Okay, America, well, there you go. This is my family. We're on here now. This is it. I mean, and he had to agree, but here's the thing. He had to agree, but he also had to agree to go back on medication.
Yeah.
So we knew that he wasn't going to get really on track until he could have a combination of therapy and meds that he had to volunteer to do.
Yeah. Now let's go back for a second. When all this was going on, tell us some of the symptoms, some of the behaviors you were seeing, and what all had transpired within that year. Just that year alone, I know that there were several incidents
so early on, he stopped taking his meds. We were unaware. He was spitting his medication into we would hand him his meds, and he was getting the meds, and we would always stand and talk to him so we could be sure he wasn't what we call cheeking the meds. But he had a hydro flask. Well, the hydro flask is opaque. You don't see through it. It's not like this. So I'm like, there's no way. I'm watching him take this medication. I had no clue. So we'd give him the medication, and he would go to drink the water, but spit the meds in the bottle, but we didn't know. So 4 days in, Dave was gone. I'll never forget the incident ever. And I was going to a mental health conference in Washington, D.C. And I went into the studio. When I walked in, his whole demeanor changes. He's different. He's, the difference between Moniece and DJ, to be totally honest, Val, is their heart. They both have issues, but Moniece is mean. Her spirit is not his. When he's good, he wants to be in he just wants to hug you, and that's him. I used to literally call DJ my joy boy. That was my nickname for him. Moniece's nature is not that, which, by the way, is like her dad. It's like, okay, is this guy about to kill me? That's his demeanor.
Really?
Yes, they're the same. And which means it's innately who she is. So all the other stuff stacked on top of it. So Moniece's intention is different than DJ's.
Gotcha.
Okay. Both suffer with different things, but his heart is not her heart. You can see him struggling. He knows, but he can't help it. When here's a good example. When he got out of jail, and I said, Dee, do you realize you were walking around naked?
Because that's what I was going to say. There were incidences where he was seen walking around town naked. Okay, and so he was arrested.
Did you realize? And he said, yeah, but at that time I couldn't have done anything different. So he doesn't forget.
Yeah.
But what's going on in here?
Yeah.
Dictates something different.
Can I tell you this? He broke my heart, I should say. There was one day, this is when it made sense to me. I know you would do your best to explain potentially what his experience was like. And then one day I want to say he was sitting with you, was like an interview, a conversation the two of you were having online. And he was describing how the voices, like he it was hard for him to concentrate because there's these voices telling him other directions.
So there's a good thing that you're bringing up. So D voluntarily gave up his license. He said, I can't drive. I said, D, you should journal. I can't write because there's so much confusion. So what I'm saying to you is, imagine that there's 2 to 3 people conversing in his head audibly, like you can hear me. And then there's you in his present reality. So when you see a schizophrenic person on the street and you in a calm voice, so they're always agitated because it's agitating. They're in a reality that no one is going to understand but them. So when you say, I always say, hey, how you doing? Can I get you something to eat? Are you okay? I talk in that tone.
Right.
Because when you burst into their world, hey, what's going on? Even if you do that, it's too much stimuli and information for them.
Yeah.
The people in their head are talking to them and they're as loud as I'm talking to you. Then they're talking to each other. And then sometimes they're fighting and arguing. The voices aren't always friendly and kind. They're mean.
That part, I remember you, the two of you explaining that sometimes the voices are having arguments.
They're arguing.
Trying to calm down the arguments or whatever. That's sad to me. And so I can't imagine.
And so before I throw in the towel of just despair, and I wrote I'm so busy. I'm nowhere near as active, and I'm apologetic for our site Loving Beyond Reason as I need to be. But there is a really good blog I wrote on there called Morning Expectation. And I realized that's what happens. But before I can become completely despondent, I think about the fact that he's mourning his own expectations. He's 32. He has no relationship. Don't think he doesn't want one. Right. He can't relate. He's 32. He has no real formidable job. So what happens is his brain creates a reality that's insulated to make him the king of a world that nobody can disturb. Because out here, I failed.
So that would explain. Oh my gosh, that explains why somebody owes him $700 billion.
That's how everybody in fashion and fashioned everything after him. Everything in music has been stolen because he's the creator of all things. He pays the mortgage. How did I get my car? When I brought my BMW, he said, what are you doing with that car? You can't afford that. And I'm like, he paid to send my daughter to college, but Moniece too has told some giant.
Wow. He believes it though. So his intention is not to lie. His intention is to just.
Correct. It's an insulated reality that creates something that he can actually, why come out of that?
Right.
He's safer over there because over here, he's facing an uphill battle that he doesn't know how to conquer.
And give him something. Look, if this is the only piece of peace he can have is to control this narrative and this, then so be it. I get it. Okay, so let's go back. So those are the types of things that have been transpiring. I also remember when he was arrested, that one of those times he was, that was an opportunity, so to speak, because that way that's the only way we got him back on his meds. He could get the shot. Wasn't there a shot he had to get once a month?
So he had to get Sustaina and Vega. He was at the highest milligram. Sustaina and Vega. Sustaina and Vega you can also take orally. It's an antipsychotic, but we needed a depot because at that time the shot goes in, you can't get it out.
Yeah.
Okay, that shot is $2,999. Look it up. And so the bottom line is we had to go and go to court or go before
a judge.
Not court. No, not court.
A magistrate.
We had with his medical, Social Security, and all that, because their thing is we don't want to pay for that.
Oh, right.
Because he can always take it orally, and we can help cover those costs orally. Except, guess what?
he's gonna spit it out. Right.
Ding, 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 ding. So you don't. So when I finally started to get into understanding this, my heart broke. I've cried more than I even have tears to cry.
I cried with you while you.
I'm going to give you a statement that is heartbreaking.
Okay.
The same way we've learned about Roe versus Wade, I will tell you this: it is disgusting that sanity is for the wealthy. There's your statement. That's a quote. I learned that sanity is for the wealthy, not rich, wealthy. You tell me who you know that can sustain their own personal life and then pay an extra $15,000 to $1,000. I know who they are because some of them were in DJ's recovery, and I will not name names, but they're first name basis people that you all know. Their families are in there because they can pay cash.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
ask you this, Moniece, Marla. Ginger makes a good point. It says, "Can't Moniece?" It just moved.
Yeah, can't Moniece think in her mind the same way? She thinks everyone is against her, so she has to protect herself. She can, and that's why whoever I didn't see their name. Yes, that's why I have to get out of the way.
Okay,
because right. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No. I'm just saying that yes. And here, let me tell you this. And here's another huge statement. I have learned and continue to learn that you cannot, I can acknowledge your feelings, but I can only deal with and challenge you on a fact. Your feelings are yours. You can feel what you want to feel. I'm not even calling what you feel wrong. I can't. They're not mine.
Right.
But a fact is, this is a pen. How you feel about this pen is on you. I can't tell you I feel that pen is blue is the worst color in the world. Well, that's your feeling. But we all can agree this is a pen. So we're caught up now in feelings. We're caught up in, because with Moniece, she said to me last night, in screaming fit, how hurt how much she's hurt. And I said, I'm sure you are. I get that.
She's saying she's hurt by you though.
Period. She just, how much she's hurting. Yeah, by me, by whatever.
But she won't tell you what it is you've done to cause the hurt.
Because
I know that look. I'm not talking about what you and I know. No. I'm talking about what does she say?
she could, if there was something, she could say it.
Yeah.
And also, I'm telling you. And so there's a lot of things that we can even agree on. But if we can't discuss to a conclusion of change, if we can't agree on at least the formidable fact.
Right.
The fact is, you are my daughter. The fact is, I did have you at 19. The fact is, I never put you in harm's way. Facts, because of external things. The fact is, no one abused you in this family. Period. The fact is, we gave our life to love you. I don't have a life because I made a choice to make you my life, and DJ my life, and Lexi my life. Those are facts. We've loved all three kids the same. The only difference is who they are. How does one child say, you're the best? My daughter, the baby, called me on her 24th birthday. And she said, Mom, I feel like I'm going to cry. And I said, why? Girl, it's your birthday. She said, I just stopped to think about it. And I thought to myself, my God, at my age, at this birthday, you had 3 kids. And you and Dad never seemed like young parents to us. I get it now. You guys were young as hell. She was understanding, oh my God. I sent that girl to school for $283,000 and we got out of our house. My dream, I just remodeled. And I'm still in a 2-bedroom condo. Not her fault, my choice.
No, I hear you.
And so it's maddening. And yes, there are times, Val, I'm mad. I'm mad at the representation based on Moniece's perception of the hurt that she's brought onto herself and the dishonesty about the facts.
Okay.
I will support your feelings. I will support, this is how you feel, and what can I do? Which is where we've been all up until now. But what I can no longer do, and this is huge. You want huge? Here's huge. You, Moniece, are the shooter. I cannot keep watching you go blast innocent people and come back home to reload and shoot the next people. And I just go, I can't say anything because that's my daughter. Put the gun down. Lock the door. You can't come here anymore and reload your ammo and go back out and kill more people. I know you're the shooter.
Okay, so let's talk about this. So we now understand what else is going on in your household, because you have a second child who also has severe mental health challenges.
Yes.
And now you're also, now mind you, this has got to be super tough because all of these folks are adults. So it's not like these are kids that you can make do anything.
Exactly.
You still need their level of consent to be a part of this process.
Correct.
So with that said, you're managing all of this. What are the things that Moniece was saying to you that got you to come on Love and Hip Hop? Like, I'm sure she had to be a part of that conversation too, to encourage you to get there. And what was your thought process about getting there? And what did you hope to achieve?
Okay, so what Moniece said to us was, first of all, when the show first happened, I was called into production to be on the show as regular, as beginning.
Oh, wow.
And I did not. I had a conversation with one of their main producers. And at the end of the conversation, at first I said, you know what? I was so mad at something I heard. I was like, you know what? I'm in. Then I was like, you know what? I'm out. In the same meeting. I did. I said, you know what? I tell you what, I'm not going to touch this with a 10-foot pole. The question was asked to me at that time, do you think Moniece should do this? I said, I do not. I know what Moniece's mental health challenges and personality issues are.
Oh, and I told them this in the meeting,
Marla? I did. And I said, they asked me, and I said, no, I don't think she should. But she's 27. I cannot stop her. She's a grown woman. And here's why I don't think she should. Most people can use this platform as exploitation, which is what TV is, to meet their need. For Moniece, it's going to be real life. She won't be able to delineate the difference.
Gotcha.
So the drama that we've experienced as a family has always been Moniece. In some ways, David and I were glad she had Love and Hip Hop because we felt like now she'll get paid for what she really is. We didn't see her making it any other, we've tried everything. Go to school, get a job, everything goes by the wayside. I asked Moniece to leave home at 19. I had to kick her out because of some other stuff that was deep, that had been going on. And she came back when she was dating Drew at 21. So this situation happened later. This is prior to having Cam. And so this situation happened later. And when I got on Love and Hip Hop, she came back and the producers and writers in season 2 were like, we think she's the star. Her story is the story. She said everybody else on Love and Hip Hop their families know where, everybody wants to know where I came from. David said, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. I'm a member of Take 6. I don't care. I'm not going to be a guest. I'm not doing it. And I've tried even when I was on to say, please, come be with me. He was like, no. One of the few times David has been like, hard line, no, no, no. So she asked that. And the entire time, so many things could have been said. And I would say, we'd be in a scene. And I'd say, Moniece, do what you need to do. I knew she was scared that I was going to say something that was going to be what you think you've heard. You hadn't heard nothing. And then you're not going to hear it from me. But the bottom line is she would be, and I would say in the mic, anybody in Love and Hip Hop can refute or confirm. Moniece, I got you. Do what you have to do. This is your job. Do you? I would literally, and I would just bounce out and let her, that scene I had with she and Rich Dollars, same thing. She was losing it in the background. And I literally said, listen, I got 5 more minutes. I can hear her screaming and whatever. She doesn't want this conversation to happen. And I'm just going to go. I know the production brought me here. And then the Love and Hip Hop thing is hilarious because I used to be in the production van. They would pick me up. And they never tell you where you're going. They never tell you who you're going to shoot with. So I used to call David and I used to say, okay, I'm the hooded eagle. Wait, I'm passing a palm tree. And I say, just in case something happens, wait, I think I see And I would look out the window and Dave was on the phone. I was like, and so if you hear this sound, caw, come get me.
It's you.
It's me. So I would clown in my driver and I'd just shout him out. His name was Sean. He was amazing. And so I used to love the fact that he became the guy who was like, I'm getting her. Mm-hmm. And but I went on the show, and my objective vow was this is clearly a generational problem. Mm. I'm going to speak to her generation. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to speak and I can do it because I've been in the shoes. I'm not going to project what I've read or what I thought or what should possibly be or what you could. No, I was a single mom. I was a teen mom. It doesn't matter where I came from. It matters the fact that the choice was the same and how that was handled and what that looked like and how hard that was. And so my thing was, you consciously against medical advice chose to do this thing, Drew and Moniece. You insisted. Now you're parents. Mm-hmm. So don't sit here across from me, sorry for being passionate about it, but not sorry, and ask me to pick up the slack and share custody with you, boo. No, I raised 3 kids against all odds. Didn't matter what the circumstance was. So go to court. I told Drew in the beginning of that conversation that they chopped. I said, Drew, you and Moniece have been fighting since the beginning. It's been one fight after another. I said, no one gets to beat up the court. These are quotes. Mm-hmm. No one goes to the court and knocks the court out, punches the court and knocks them out. I said, I'm team Cam. Cameron deserves the support from both of his parents. All you can do is support him financially. You can't make somebody else spend the time. Take your ass to court, get full custody, and hire responsible care. There are too many single parents in this world that are doing what you expect your mother and my mother your mother and me to kick in, and you're even blessed because your mother does kick in. His mother's amazing as far as just being completely available. Consider it a blessing, not something that anybody owed you. We're grandparents. Let me be a grandparent.
Exactly.
And at the time I was 42 when they had Cameron, and I said, and if I wanted to have another baby, I could have one.
Right.
So if I loosen this load on you, you'll have the next one, and the next one, you think you're having kids for me. Get out of here with that. I didn't want any more kids. I'd have had them.
Quick question. Do you like Drew?
I'm in Vegas. Drew's here. Cam's here. You know, Drew's family.
Oh, Drew's in Vegas?
I'm in Vegas. Well, Cameron's having a basketball tournament. That's why I'm here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Moniece is not there.
No, Moniece is not here.
So, and he's family, and
we've had our differences.
Always had a good relationship.
No, we didn't. We blew up. I blew up when Drew did season 2. I was furious because he was completely misrepresenting. And even if he did it for TV, he didn't let me know. He did come back later and apologize to me privately, as I've had to apologize to him privately for being a participant in any negative conversation online. It'll never happen again. It's irresponsible. I've gotten caught up in conversations, dealing with Moniece and, just chit-chatting. And I made that vow December 1 to use this platform correctly for my own mission, meaning what I know God's placed in my heart. And it doesn't include tearing people up. And no matter what people think, my objective and my motive and my voice is not used to drag Moniece, period. But I'm telling you what, I'm representing the outliers. I'm representing the parents that are like me. I'm representing families that are like me, because so many people assume that the only way that your children to fall into these particular maladies mentally is that they've had some kind of trauma. Sometimes it's just who you are. Sometimes you just have a fracture. Sometimes it's just life. And parents can do everything that they can do. They can be the best that they can be, and their kids still have issues. So when you get to be an adult, it is your responsibility, as it is mine, as it is Val's, and as everybody else out in the world, to decide what it is that you want to get from your life, understand what your obstacles and deficits are, and freaking ass fix them or not. If you want the relationships in your life to go smoothly and you know that they're not, and you have failed relationship after failed relationship after failed relationship, look at yourself. You're the adult. And one of the things I say all the time is, do what you're going to do, but who does it serve? Even when there is trauma, For an adult to say, well, because my parents did this, and this, I can't keep a job. And that's why I can't pay my rent. Guess who's homeless? You.
Right.
So you better figure out how to fix that, because the consequence for an adult is for the adult. If my kids commit a crime, I'm not going to jail for you.
Right.
You're not getting back at me.
Right.
You're wrecking your own life.
So let's fast forward to what has happened in the last year or so between you and Moniece. What was the last bad situation? Because I understand that she's no longer on Love and Hip Hop anymore, but she has a new show, right?
Not that I don't know. I know that was an announcement. Maybe not. Let me say this. I don't keep up with that on purpose. It's too much. It's heartbreaking because I want Moniece to succeed. And I mentioned it earlier about the shooter.
Yeah.
Because of the way Moniece manages her pain, as I said to her last night privately, and I'll say this publicly. Mm-hmm. I've been your mother your whole life. Mm-hmm. So I'm not talking about incidents from let's just call it, PLH and pre and post Love and Hip Hop. Mm-hmm. I've been dealing with things that are insane since high school.
Right.
You guys just bought tickets and pulled up to the pool. I've been swimming laps for years, and y'all are now like, oh,
there's a pool over here.
He's swimming, and I'm like, really, for real? You are in the final run of a life that I have been struggling through with this child forever. So I have always been her mother. And so what I said to Moniece, and I'll say it here to somebody else who matters, if you are a connected parent, you know who your kid is. Valerie, you are a mother. You know your son. You know his nature. So therefore, if somebody came and said, oh, my son, if somebody here, when there's a good one, Moniece constantly talks about, I accused her of stealing when it was DJ. It's a fact. I went public and said, I'll say it again. So now somebody can hear it again. I totally did that. And I totally apologized. What I didn't get into for Moniece's sake is you too have stolen from me multiple times.
Right.
So the only one in the house that we all agree is innocent of any of these atrocities is the baby. Moniece agrees, Dee agrees, Dave agrees, I agree, because there's never been an incident. We all agree. So therefore, it can't, with that in mind, I'm dealing with and talking to a situation that understands the history and the nature. Mm-hmm. In this case, it happened to be Dee. But why are you even on the table? Because in the past, it's been you. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's been him. They both have done it.
Okay.
So what I can say is, in this case, you're right. Moniece, it wasn't you. I'm sorry, but that was not the impetus or the reason that you lost custody, as you like to tell the world. False. So what's happening now, Val, in the last year is more foolishness. And I had a very clear objective. I need the world to stop participating in this circus. Period. End of story. It is fans who don't get to look behind the curtain, who are cheerleading something that is so horrid because real people are involved and they're being damaged, including her. So my goal is not to save other people. It's to save Moniece. What's better? For her to get a restraining order or for her to go to jail? I'm thinking about Cameron. Are you? That's still his mother. That's still his father.
Right.
So what I'm saying now is, forget what you thought you heard and stop what you thought you knew. If I can responsibly say in my heart, this is my motive, please stop looking at this like Moniece is just this truth receipt teller that does whatever. And when this doesn't come to fruition for whatever the reason, it's not about a pregnancy or not a pregnancy. It's not about whether she has a baby or she doesn't have a baby. It's about the diabolical issue of the manipulation that is behind it all that needs help.
But your thought is that the public plays a part in this because we egg it on, we want to hear more of the same, we encourage it, we demonize you, and we say, oh, her mom does it wrong, or her family doesn't
understand. Forget about demonizing me. I don't care. It's not about me.
You don't care
at all. The only thing that bothers me about the demonization is that right now I'm at death threats for lies. That's it. And that can be real. But other than that, I still don't live my life in fear. And so the bottom line is, I do have a responsibility. I'm not a fan. I'm trying to pray and figure out how to stop this train. Because when it hits the wall, it's traveling so fast at this point, it's going to be catastrophic.
But Marla, when you say that your clear intention was to get the public to get off this train, when you say your clear intention in doing what did you do?
In saying that, and when I went on and had that conversation live, Valerie, and I said that Moniece was not having a baby, that and someone said to me on a live, is this for a storyline? And I went into explaining, no, here's why. This is not new to the family. And so the problem now is that I want your community, bloggers, to stop treating this in a sensational way and say we shouldn't deal with this because there's a real problem here. And it's foul for you to exploit mental illness.
I agree.
But you will if you don't know it's a mental illness.
I agree.
That was my point. So I'm like, how can I cut this off?
Yeah.
What can I do?
Yeah.
And so how you see me and demonize me, I can give a shit. Can I curse?
Yes.
Okay, good. Shit. Okay, got it all out. So the bottom line is, that's real for me. That's real for me. And you can hear the passion. I can almost not contain it because I'm a mom.
Mm-hmm.
My God. If I've had one successful or unsuccessful career, it's motherhood. That's it. I am the mother behind, I'm the wife behind a man that could live his life out fully without delay or complication. This is the family that he wanted to build. So the pain that Moniece has in her perception for whatever it is, and I'm not mad, I receive it for what it is, but the overwhelming tears or the overwhelming emotion is, my God, how can you not see how much you've been loved? How? And I still have to accept that she doesn't see it that way.
Marla,
but it's not the truth.
What led up to the conversation that you were finally able to have last night? How did that
More manipulation?
You don't have to go into the details.
She called I'll be clear. She called my mom, which she does, and she knows we're here supporting Cam. Mm-hmm. And I'm just tired of everybody around us not saying what it is, mm-hmm. and all family, and I'm tired of, and what these tears happen because it's the people close to my best. And between my father, my brother, my son, my daughter, I'm trying to rescue my dad right now from a mess in Florida. Now I'm temporarily moving to help him. I got to stall everything and go deal with him. And I'm the only one. And so I feel like for family, don't make this so hard. So my mom, I told her, I'm not mad at you, but I know that there's a weakness there. And so I can't, I'm tired of everybody allowing Moniece to story build because it empowers her in her perception by just listening. And I don't mind everybody who wants to support, please support her. But support also looks like, Moniece, you need to make this right with your family, your mother and father. This is wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so until people can call it a lie, the lie needs to be called a lie, mm-hmm. period, which is, the whole thing. That's why we're in the trouble we are with right now in this country. It's a lie. It's not, there's no way to schmooze around it. It's not true. For whatever your motive is, it's not true. Because mm-hmm. truth can be proven. Prove it. Mm-hmm. And it's not about me being right or wrong. It's about me saying, hey, can anybody else see this as a big, giant problem? Am I the only one? How are you going to overlook the facts?
You know what I'm hearing, though, that's standing out more so louder than ever, I think, is the fact that you have been there for everybody. Like, even if I think about it, you've been the one that's obviously raised the children. You, even if I look at it as that's in a way you standing up, being there for Dave too, you know, because you're in the gap when he's traveling and doing his thing. Then you've got a grandchild, you've got parents. Who is there for Marla though? Like, who does?
Jesus.
Well, that's all you need to say. Does Jesus, who does he show up through though sometimes?
You know what, Val?
Is there anybody you really go to and say, look?
You know what, Val? You know, first of all, you know, I do know that I'm a loved woman. You know, I do. My husband is one of a kind.
Yeah.
You know, even loved me through some of my most irresponsible mistakes that were negative and affected him poorly, which I regret. But like I'm saying about Moniece, it's not different for me. My burden is my burden. I have to accept it, be accountable for me, find those tools that help me move myself forward. That's what has to happen. The rules aren't different for me.
I agree. I get it.
And I said today earlier, the greatest lie you will ever tell is the one that you tell yourself about yourself. Lie to other people. You are screwed when you start lying to yourself. And the mind that can convince itself of something different is in trouble. I got to know where I am and where I stand, even if I choose to mislead, even if I choose to be dishonest, but it's a choice.
Yeah.
So you have, I mean, if you have a Q&A, hit me with my Q&A.
My first question in the Q&A, and then I am going directly to that. We won't do this for long as far as Q&A is concerned. Do you see a therapist?
I have seen a therapist. I'm not currently in therapy.
Okay.
I've seen multiple therapists.
Do you think it might make sense to
absolutely
to do that right now? Because you gotta.
I am not opposed. I'm just trying to tell you this, that so much comes at me so quickly at all times, and everything is a 5-alarm emergency. My father needed to be moved into assisted living under the most crazy circumstance, we can talk offline, in 4 days' time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
David and I went there Wednesday. We landed in Orlando. We drove to Port St. Lucie. We manually moved this man on Friday, fully. He cannot walk. He only has use of his right arm. That's it. But he's of sound mind. And I'm trying to tell you, I was supposed to come back Monday, changed our flight till Tuesday, barely made it to the airport. I was sweating by the time I got on the plane. I landed at 6:00 on Tuesday. I was on the plane to come see Cameron at 6:00 on Wednesday. And I am now sitting in Vegas, as I am also working. I am a realtor. I am a project manager for builds. I am a mother. I have my own mental health show, Mental Health Mondays, that most definitely. I am an advocate. I am a parent. I am a grandparent. I am these things. And you don't hear me complaining. And you know why? Damn all these people who choose to be victims. Yeah. It's up to me to lighten my plate. It's up to me to scrape something off that doesn't work. I've chosen these things, and I have to ask God to help me with my understanding of my capacity. These are the people. This is the people. This is my core 4. They're in the vest. He can't help himself. Here I am.
I know that you said that this doesn't really matter, but people are in the chat and have been asking. So are you admitting or saying that Moniece is not or has not been pregnant in this last year?
What I'm saying is, I have no idea.
Gotcha.
I don't. I will say this, that there is no baby. Now, so what my goal was, and again, is to bring attention to the issue.
Okay.
And the issue was, if there is an announcement by her, no one did that, which is what I also said to her last night. Mm-hmm. Nobody did this to you. You posted that. You put this in the national blog. And if there's nothing that happens, it's July, people. So if you say you're pregnant, and you said that in December, and you never come back to say anything, and it's July, dates have changed 2-3 times. Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying is, and so people who still, I call them jumpers. Once you understand how deep this is, if you still want to be that person, and I call you a jumper, jump. Yeah. But if you can look behind the curtain and see that the thing is what the thing is, and then you can start having compassion. You're not supposed to choose a side, because if you choose a side that's against Moniece, you're not on my side. Let me get that straight.
Right.
If you come against her, you're not on my side. And regardless of what I'm saying in truth, my intent is not to destroy Moniece, because if it was, she'd be toast. She'd already be a pile of ashes. Trust.
Right. Gotcha.
That's not the goal. So all these narratives, Val, are narratives that Moniece and Moniece's misguided pain has put out there. Marla's not jealous of Moniece. Marla's not out here looking and seeking fame. Marla is living a purpose that needs to permeate her message based on the pure pain that I've been thrust into against anything I knew existed. You'd have blown me over with a feather to tell me that I would have 2 kids in this condition when they were little. It's the mental illness is the disease of stolen lives. Why is it stolen? Very simple. Because it is determined between the ages of 18 and 25. You have come to know and love a child that becomes a young adult one way, and all of a sudden it's different. And you spend your life fighting to get back to that person that you can relate to. You spend your life trying to be who. I lived for the moment that all my kids would be their own person, but would be where Lexi is, where we could just be friends. They could be responsible for themselves. I used to tell my kids, the best thing that you can do in this lifetime is take care of you. The more you do for you, the less I have to do for you, because I won't stop doing. That's a statement to all 3 of my children. So when you're still struggling, I'm in here struggling. I'm pissed at myself that I'm in here at 35, 32. But it is what it is. I know he can't take care of himself.
So, and that's the other thing. So Moniece obviously lives on her own. And I heard her saying in a recent interview that Cam is with her half the month, like 2 weeks out the month, and
they do week on, week off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, but DJ lives with you and Dave.
Yes. And so basically, I live in a mental hospital, because I'm serious. We have catered our lives around not triggering him. So I can't even, my personality has had to shift.
How does that work when, like, for instance, right now you're out of town, mm-hmm. and you're going to have to go out of town? So he's in the house.
I don't know what I can't worry. Worry is something that I've taken off the table.
But what I mean is worry.
I don't know what I'm going to get when I get home.
Oh.
Mm. Period. I leave food. I make sure that there's funds available. And I leave. And when I come back, it is what it is, because he's not willing to let us help him. Right at this point, once they go psychotic, you can't talk to them about meds anymore. Forget it. They're in another reality.
What does Lexi say about dealing with her siblings? Like, she just got married.
She said that she feels that it's super unfortunate. And the one thing she said to me recently, she said, I know there's a part of Moniece that realizes. She said, there was so much love in our household. You and Dad, she said, our house, she said, when I grew up, my house was the house everybody wanted to come to. And you guys were light. Our house was a light, like light. And she said, is no doubt what you guys were. And she said, and it's sad because I know that Moniece was a part of that. So that's got to be in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they encouraged me to just leave it alone. Like, and I said, and I would love to do that. But because Moniece takes this fight public, that's why I'm here. Because I too would prefer that it not be there, but it is what it is. And even when I started talking about my son, when he was on drugs, only once he started to recover, because he gave me permission to do that, he wanted to help others. Now, so it's very rare that you will hear me continue to discuss Moniece's diagnosis, because clearly she rails against everything. She doesn't want that. So it's not helpful.
And they're asking, what relationship does she have with her siblings? So does she have?
She and Dee are close, and she was okay. Everybody loved the baby, but recently it's just too much drama. So she literally has said, "I just have to protect my peace," and she doesn't want to be She doesn't want to be included in any of that. She just wants to, and I don't do that. So the bottom line is, even with her wedding, she and her husband paid for their wedding, and it was her wedding. And so I let it be what she wanted it to be, period. I did not interject. I didn't say, what's going to happen with your sister. None of that. It's on her. She's a grown, responsible, thinking adult that can decide what's best for her life. And so she just didn't want the drama. She didn't want the possibility of drama.
And is there any fear that the grandchildren, Cam or any future grandchildren, will suffer?
Absolutely. When Moniece was pregnant, I panicked, because then I knew what I was up against. I had already had a diagnosis. I went to a conference at UCLA, we'll never forget, and it was all of the top doctors who write books like Stop Walking on Eggshells and, Borderline, A New Reason for Hope. And, and I went and spoke with them. I went through the whole seminar and then met with them afterwards, sat there and stayed, because I was trying to gather information that would inform me early stages to be prepared to treat and deal with Cameron differently. What did I miss? How can I go back? What are the things that I can do? That's how I looked at that. Let me be more prepared. Because if you could tell me there's something else I could have done, I'd have done it. Fact.
Any final words that you have that you want us to know, and advice you would want to give us in supporting people?
Yeah.
Who either have mental health issues or those that are supporting folks in that position?
First of all, the sooner that you can deal with it, the better. If you're a parent, there's a lot you can do to control an outcome before 18. The better that you get your kids accustomed to what they're dealing with and what their options are, and to train them to actually deal with it on their own. So for example, the right thing is to create an environment that they want to be a part of, which is why Dee is still with us. There is a trust factor there, period. Mm-hmm. Even though, when he's in psychosis, it's a lot harder. Sure. But that's a big message for parents. Start early, and build that, because they will miss it. That's number one. Number two, see something, say something. This whole climate of silence is not golden.
No,
it is not golden. And I'm going to say this. We have watched in the last month, 3 mass shootings. I put on my Facebook the other day, 10 plus 19 plus 7 equals what? Too many lives lost to gun violence.
Okay.
All of it had to do with at the hands of somebody who was mentally unbalanced. I'm going to say this to your camera. No one goes to bed on Saturday and wakes up Sunday morning fractured mentally and says, that's it. Today is the day. I'm going to get an assault rifle. I'm going to blast these kids in the face. You have seen something. You have heard conversations. You have looked at social media. Me and Moniece. It's there. And let me stop, because I'm not saying that Moniece is going to go out and kill anybody. I mean, because people take things very. I have to say that though, because her mother said no. I'm just saying that you've seen a lot on social media. This is not a surprise as to where somebody's mind is. And so social media is where most tend to hide in the wide open, if you just want to see it. But the bottom line is, see something, say something. Mm-hmm. We have, as a Black community, we are 2 times more likely, 2 times more affected by mental illness, and less than 1% willing to get treatment and or diagnosis. And so when I get on this and I see everybody, oh, it's ridiculous. Why can't you keep this private? And you dragging your daughter until you're hurt, until it comes into your household, until something happens to you. And then you're the first person in my DM asking me for help. So the bottom line is, if you listen, they need the bottom. That means unsupported. That means no more cheerleaders. That means get well, get right. And I'm telling you this, Val, I'm disgusted by the people that are driven for the train wreck. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so you are, and I say it again, these are nuggets. Know this, you are entertained by my pain, period. And so that's what they need to know when it comes to mental illness. It's a journey. You don't cure it, you manage it. It changes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It morphs. Mm. A diagnosis you get today, in 5 more years, especially through adolescence, could look differently. So
to say that you don't look like what you've been through, honey, you ought to have skin that's dragging the ground. You ought to have gray, white hair you should just be frail and barely making it. But instead, you are beautiful, poised, articulate, smart, caring, transparent. And I am grateful that you came on and that you shared so much of your life. And, you've given us some things to really move on and to look at things differently moving forward. And I will also say that it makes me look at reality. Actually, it makes me look at reality TV as well as even some of these talk shows based upon your experience. It makes me look at all of that even differently, because, I feel like in some ways I am contributing to the problem if I'm supporting this type of programming, because you know that the programming is exploiting mental health.
Right. I don't come down on anybody. And especially when I'm willing to do this, I'm doing it. I'm doing this here, my live, whatever. I'm doing this for me. I feel like that this, I can't blame the public. When you go here, people are going to have an opinion. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Don't be silly. Like, I feel like I'm not mad. And guess what, Val? As a mother, if I weren't in it, I would probably view it like most of the people here viewing it. I wouldn't get caught up, and I would say this to people: be careful being so invested in one side of a story. You don't have the story. So if you are a blogger, you're supposed to, and I said this the other day on my live, you're supposed to do an interview. What you're not supposed to do is gather an opinion that takes this off page, and you begin to use your own issues, and it becomes a personal vendetta for you. You've lost your way because you don't have both sides. And if I'm not willing to talk to you about both sides, I'll even mention this, I laugh at, Meat Magazine. I sent him the other day. do you have proof of such and such and such? And he wrote back and said, allegedly, laughed out loud. And I had to laugh. I said, good blogger response. Because it is alleged until you have the facts.
Right.
So be careful. So I'm shocked and dismayed that people get so wrapped up in one side of a thing that you even have the conversation to think of killing me.
Yep.
You don't know. And you've only been here for since Moniece is what, 35? This happened you've only known who she is when she was 27.
Right.
Get out of here with your definitive opinions. You can't have it. You can't know. You weren't even here for the into adulthood. You know nothing. So you can't don't even take what I'm saying to heart. So here's what I will say. If you want to crucify somebody by social media, you better be a good damn attorney and you go do your due justice and go through my whole page. Go back. And if you can't see consistency in a thing, then it's your problem that you're dealing with, not hers. You're the one with the issue. Mm-hmm. And you're using a platform, a pinup, to be able to express your own pain and direct it at me because you can't get in touch with your issue. And I'm not even mad. I'll let you have that. But careful. Careful. Because if you really are going to be a good person, good people don't actually act on a one-sided story.
Yep.
They collect their information.
Yep.
So Val, I appreciate you actually.
I appreciate you. I want to apologize to your mama, to Cam, to everybody for holding you for this long.
No, Cam, let me tell you, I don't know what these people are doing. Cam's game tonight is at 9:00. He's 12. I'm like, what? What are they?
Girl,
are they gamblers? What are they doing? What is this? This is like Vegas club night for kids?
Yeah.
What is this?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, my God. His game yesterday was so good.
What, is he a guard? What position is he
guard?
play?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that.
He makes plays.
Just the little things I've seen about him. You know, the athleticism is probably coming straight through those genes. And
yeah, Drew and I laugh about that. That's Drew and I's biggest. Yesterday we went out with the team for breakfast, and I used to just kill Drew in bowling, and he hates it. So so at the table, I was like, "Hey, bro, what about that? You want to tell everybody here about your bowling defeats?" He's like, "I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even remember." I said, "Oh, you remember?" So then his friends, his buddy was like, "I don't know, man. I'm kind of feeling like she's telling the truth." And I'm like, mm-hmm. So he used to call himself. He says, "I'm sorry, I can't answer the phone right now. Pins, where's Pins? Pins is not available."
Marla, thank you so much. Steph says, great interview, that the conversation stems around Moniece and family, but a lot of families are dealing with mental illness concerns. And honestly, it's just a problem for our community in general, just because even if we do identify that there's a problem, we don't always get the help, nor do we always have the resources or know that there's a place potentially where we can find a resource to assist us. So I'm just happy that you're here and that you're talking about it. Also, that you started a nonprofit. Tell us about your nonprofit. Really,
my nonprofit is called Loving Beyond Reason. By all means, the donations, we definitely need them. Dave and I are grassroots. Our foundation is based on donations. Our main initiative right now is to actually start our first Loving Beyond Reason transition home for the mentally ill, where we can service people in our community like the people are being serviced in the place where DJ went, because it's not available for us. And my mom being a person who, ran the VA and has versed in mental health, she's put together the actual, staffing and programs. And so that's something that we're looking to do desperately. That's our first giant initiative. But in the meantime, our show Mental Health Mondays is on YouTube. It's every Monday. We're live. And we do $1 today, helps keep, erase the stigma, keeps the stigma away. And that campaign, if we understand that 1 in 3 people, Val, suffer with, diagnosed or undiagnosed, with mental illness, it's not everybody else's problem, man. It's all of us.
Right.
Sorry. And so if we can start normalizing that conversation, then we can talk about mental illness like we talk about cancer, like we talk about diabetes, period. And so that's what I'm saying. So I never would have thought, and I always have, I'm a super empath and I'm super compassionate. And I never would have paid this much heart attention had I not been placed in this position.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent years as a young mother trying to figure out what is wrong here. Like how, and I think the big thing was, how are they continuing to hurt themselves? When the behavior that was damaging them kept being repeated, I thought, oh, something's not right. Like, I don't have to F myself up more than once. I'm not running into that wall twice. Okay, I ran into that, and oh my goodness, look, I'm limping for life. Not again. Nope, not doing it. So those are the things that I'm trying to stay out in the forefront, keep into the conversation. You know, Black people feel like that mental illness is an indictment, especially Black parents. Most of these parents are afraid for just reasons. Everybody's not me. Meaning, there's a lot of people I'd be afraid too. If you're that person who has a fearful spirit, you know, to come out and you can't handle the criticism. So if you're sound mind, and I'm balanced and strong, and I'm taking these tsunami waves of hatred and accusations and criticism, what the hell do you think is going to happen to a person who's not okay?
Right.
These are the people that you drive to suicide.
Right.
And so that's what I'm saying. And nobody on the inside gets to know what those limits are for me and my family but me. Mm-hmm. Period. Mm-hmm. So offer the right kind of support.
That's right.
Keep praying. Keep offering. Real love doesn't do what most of you people are doing.
Yes.
That's not love. So therefore, support.
Mm-hmm.
Support the foundation. Support the show. Support the conversation. Support shows like this who are willing to actually get in there and dig deep. And it's not an indictment, parents. When you know you're connected and you know you've loved your children, and you know you've been what you need to be, don't let anybody just stand.
Yeah.
Stand. Yeah. You don't even have to talk back. Just don't fold. Yeah. Because we're not benefiting those that we've loved the most when we fold up and go away. Don't fold.
Yeah.
And I pray Moniece to find her way back. But she has to find her way back to herself. I don't need her to find her way back to me. She's an adult.
Well, we'll be praying for her. We'll be praying, but we'll be praying for your family. But I really admire you, and I really want you to have the support that you need to keep yourself, energized, because you got a lot of work to do.
It's called heaven.
So many people depend on you. So,
Did you hear me? I'm gonna have the support I need. It's called heaven.
Well, we want it before we have to go there.
That's not what Earth is. Earth is a journey, honey. And I say all the time, you know what the definition of life is? Resistance and stress. That's how you know you're living. And the brave people walk it every day. And the people who I used to tell my son, I said, really? I said, man, drug use is cowardly. It's the easy way out. Living is dynamic.
Woo, child.
To numb yourself, okay.
Yep. Marla, tell your whole family I said hello. I love you. Thank you. And I will have you back. We'll talk about something else. And actually, I want your mom to come on here one day because I want to talk to her about.
Mom, did you hear that? Valerie wants you to come on with tomorrow.
I do. I want her to come on with it.
We're going to be on live tomorrow. We're going to have quite a conversation, and we're going to have a live. I started this thing with me and my mom, but my mom, everybody, she's back by popular demand. Tomorrow, around the same time, my mom and I will have a discussion, and we're going to talk about how she went from hurt and divorce to help and healing with my dad, because she's still right in there, and they haven't been together since I was 14. And I keep asking her, "Are you sure you're not sleeping with Dad?" She's not. She's not. There's no conjugal. There's not there. It's not.
There's really none of your business.
It is all my business. I came out of those situations. It's all my business. They are my business. Okay.
What time is this live with Mimi tomorrow?
Mom, what are we going to do? You want to do it at 10 in the morning? It's up to you. She said it's up to me. I'm the boss of her world. Am I the boss of your world? Don't answer.
Y'all crack me up.
Yes.
The fact your mother puts up with you cracks me up.
My mother can't help but to put up with me because I will chase her down like a gazelle in Africa after a rodent.
You guys they're asking what is your channel? It's the Marla and Dave Show, right?
No, Marla Talks. It'll be on live. It'll be on Instagram Live. Oh, Mom, say hi to Val. Come on.
Hi, Miss Mimi.
Hi. How are you?
I want you to come on because I want to talk about your career over the years and the work you used to do. And how do you deal with her? That's really what I want to have an interview about. One day we'll do that. Actually, I might have to do that in person next time I'm in Vegas. How about that?
Don't you come over to here and eat my mother's food and take my space. You know what? I guard that room with my life. I'm like, nobody gets to stay in this room. That's my room. Get out of here, Val.
Yes. All right.
All right. You can come over and you can look at the pool, but don't get in it.
Dang, stingy. Mimi, she's stingy.
No, you can get in it because she never does.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
We're good.
Okay.
Well, ladies, you go and have a beautiful Saturday, what's left of it. I will be in touch with you for sure. But thank you for this, Marla. And I think that you did a world of good for a lot of people. I think that we have a different perspective and we have some nuggets to think about as we walk through our own lives and support people in our lives. All right. Tell everybody, say hi. Love you too.
All right. Bye.
Bye. So guys, all right. So that was fantastic. What did you guys think? What did you guys think? Any questions, anything? Okay. So guys, we didn't do the Q&A because, the private Q&A, because she wanted to be able to answer all the questions that you put out there. Are there any questions we didn't get to? I think we got everything. I think so. Well, anywho, I'm looking forward to having more conversations like this, especially with matters like this that we as a community don't spend enough time talking about and advocating for. Please do keep the Thomas family in your prayers and everyone that we discussed today. Again, I want to thank them all for allowing us to hear their stories, because even though everybody wasn't present, we didn't hear everybody's perspective. We did get a good understanding of what this journey must be like, for someone who is maybe facing a mental health issue, and for those that have to provide the support or caregiving or whatever it is to those individuals. So hopefully everybody really got something out of it today. Thank you, everyone. I'm seeing just great things in the chat. Thank you so much for that. One other quick announcement what time? Lord, let me check. Peace Love and I have another live today. It's actually going to be on Peace Love's channel, and I want to say it's at 7:30, guys. I think it is. Let me double check. I think it's 7:30. 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. So in 1 hour and 19 minutes, we will be at Peace Love's chat to discuss 20 controversial relationship questions. So we're going to talk more about relationships, but we'll be over there. For the rest of you guys, hey, Firefly, all late. Firefly, what you doing? You better be on top of this replay gang. You hear me? Anyway, this was a great conversation. Oh, you were here. Oh, great. Thank you, Firefly. I didn't know you were here, girl. Hi, Wonder. Is it Wonder LX Edits? Hi. I think I said that right. Thank you, Barn Dog. Hey, Coupon. Oh, you missed it, Coupon. It was a great conversation. It was a lot that came out of it. Hey, Adore Me. Adore Me. You and I can't talk in code anymore. It's over. What else? Was there somebody else I want to speak to? Oh, I want to thank Steph for your super chat. For Jen, thank you for your super sticker. Everybody, just thank you all for your support. Please check back. I'm hoping that I'll have another great surprise interview coming up in this next week or so. But even if I don't have a surprise, we'll have some good content. I promise to try to bring some more quality content your way. In the meantime, you all have a wonderful Saturday afternoon, what's left of it. I hope to see you over at Peace Loves at 7 p.m. to talk about relationships and controversial relationship questions. But if you have, let me just get this out before we get out of here. If you have any other show ideas, please hit me up right here. Thank you, Grace K. I appreciate you, sweetie. All right, everybody. Thank you to my beautiful moderators. Thank you to the chat. Thank you, everybody. And another special thank you to Marla and her family for sharing their journey with us. All right. With that said, guys, I'm going to get out of here, try to grab something to eat real quick, and then I'll see you guys soon. All right. Love you. Mwah. Smooches.